It's a pleasure as well to have you on the program.
Pleasure, fine. Thank you.
And joining us via Google Plus Hangout from Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, we have Dr. Yahaya Yakubu, a political scientist and a lecturer. Thanks as well for being on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me, Victor.
Of course. So, kickstart this conversation for us, Yahaya Yakubu. I mean, there's been mixed feelings, so to speak, now as regards the conduct of the just concluded presidential election. Some say it was good, and for others, it was the other way around. But what do you make of this conduct by INEC?
Okay, first of all, I think while it is very much, easy for us to go behind our keyboards and, criticize INEC for doing this or doing that, we should also understand, we should try to understand the contextual dynamics in which these elections are taking place. Nigeria is a monocrop economy which depends mainly. So your access to resources is determined by your access or inaccess to governance. So this struggle for power makes election a very sort of do or die affair. So first of all, INEC being a major stakeholder in this is to ensure that electoral materials and other requirements are in place and on time. Of which, to that extent, I would say to a very large extent, INEC made significant, how will I say, there's a certain level of effectiveness to that effect. Though there were pocket incidents in which there were complaints of late arrival of electoral materials and all that. And also in the area of collation, based on the way the elections work, you have party agents who represent their principals at this polling unit. So these agents are to affirm after the election by signing that they consent or they concord to the number of votes. Right. So after that, once the announcement are being made in Abuja, I don't think there is any room or window for anybody, persons, or institutions to try to stop what INEC is doing.
Even if they have grievances, even if they have grievances with the process.
Yeah, I think there are
pockets of late arrival of material sensitive as well as others. So don't you think that's a ground for people to complain?
Yes, it is. But first we need to understand that Nigeria is not just Abuja. Nigeria is not Lagos. Nigeria is not or Kaduna. Nigeria is that remote area where it takes you 5 hours, from a city center to get there. Nigeria is that remote area where it takes you 5 or 6, 7 hours on a ferry to get there. So as much as
isn't that why we have airports and the mode of transportation, the air mode of transportation?
Yes, considering the sensitivity of these materials involved, I don't think we are privy to have the information in the manner in which they were moved. But I would like to say, to a large extent, considering our territorial, vastness, it is very almost difficult for a country like Nigeria that is fighting to put its institution in order to be able to meet to a certain level of effectiveness. The expectation, no doubt, was high. INEC did their best to an extent. In what I was able to observe, there were areas that the PU offices were there as early as 7 a.m.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah. So I'll do. Let me just hold you there for a bit. Let me come to one of our guests here in the studio. Ibrahim, do you agree with him?
Yeah, I agree with him to some extent. If you're asking my view about the conduct of the election that just took place a week ago, I would say looking at the dynamics of a complex country like Nigeria, you have to give kudos to INEC. We are not expecting 100% perfection from that body. But like you said, we are expecting at least that the grievances of political gladiators and parties should be addressed and not swept aside. There were lots of complaints about underage voting, military, the Nigerian army in particular, interfering in elections of some states. There were also complaints about polling units being attacked by thugs and ballot boxes being snatched, votes that were already being voted being burnt and destroyed. There was no security. And this was what the president assured the nation that there was not going to be an issue or a case of ballot snatching. But we found out that there were some states that had these occurrences and some states didn't have it. So are we saying that we have secret cows now in Nigeria? You see, when as much as we give kudos and give a thumbs up to INEC being a human organization run by human beings for at least conducting an election to an extent that is fair, but was it likely free? There were so many complaints. These complaints has to be addressed going into the next election. You see, when we show the capacity to be able to listen to complaints and address them, then we know that we are trying to move forward. But by the time complaints are made by political parties who are participating bodies in this election, and you sweep it under the carpet, then we have a problem.
Well, speaking of that problem, how do we, take these problems away, looking at, as we approach the next set of elections?
Well, first of all, I must say that we must commend Nigerians for going out and voting, performing their civic responsibilities very, very well in the best manner they could. We must commend the security forces, commend INEC also for doing their best. There's no perfect system, but you must know that our democracy is growing. And right now, this is an improvement from what happened before. There are lessons to be learned, and they will be learned. Now, regarding conflict or resolutions or disputes that other parties may have with the results and all that, that's what the judiciary is there for. That's what the court of law is there for. So they can actually go and challenge, seek redress in the courts of law, and they'll find solutions, hopefully, for that. But as we see it right now, these elections were free, they were fair, they were credible. There was security. Now you may say, was security sufficient? There was security in certain places and other places too, but some tensions may build in certain areas.
There was a video I saw of a polling unit where thugs were actually trying to cut away the ballot boxes, and there was only one police officer. He tried his best, but they outnumbered him.
Well, as you know, 180 million Nigerians and counting, and we have a police force of not up to 1 million, I believe, in the last count. So, but there were citizens that actually, as I said, we must thank Nigerians. There were citizens who rose up, who defended their votes, who ensured that when their votes were cast, they were also counted. So security is not just the responsibility of the security agencies. It's also the responsibility of the citizens. And they've actually exercised their own civic duty to ensure that the votes were secure, and they did the best. So we must commend Nigerians, commend the government of the day, commend INEC for what has gone, and let's just ensure that this process of election management must actually be reviewed, so that things that need to be unbundled, things that other agencies that need to be set up to manage certain areas, so it will be more effective, to be done as we move forward in the next election in 2022. But for now, we must give them kudos.
Well, one of the things that most times people have actually talked about is how technology can be infused into monitoring as well as collation of results. But joining us now from our Abuja studio is Mukhtar Halilu Modibo. He is an analyst with Uzabe. Mukhtar, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. Well, Mukhtar, let's just cut to the chase. If you can hear me, speaking of Uzabe, what did you find? You monitored the elections using that application, but what was it more or less? I think we're having difficulties hearing Mokhtar, but so again, speaking of infusing technology into the whole system, what would you have advised? Because the INEC chairman said, in as much as there was some form of technology, they couldn't use it because the law of the land does not recognize that. So what do you think should be done moving forward?
Moving forward, I think the Electoral Act should be reviewed properly. The INEC should be given more powers. Now, in the area where he mentioned something about security, now I think security in elections in Nigeria, impartial security, unbiased security, will go a long way to guarantee free and fair elections. We still have situations where bandits, thugs are still snatching buses. Now, if, like I said earlier, the areas, the states that have these situations, you are able to deploy the Nigerian police force unbiased to guard.
Are you alleging that there was a bias?
Yes, there was.
Do you agree there was anything of such?
Well, these allegations have to be substantiated and have to be proved. Because we don't know who snatched the ballots. If you say they snatched the ballots, where is the record? Where is the proof for that? But what we know is that elections were taking place. People voted. There were some problem in certain areas, and the resolutions. People will resolve matters in the courts if they have any differences there. But even international community, the observers, European Union, the British government, they all said that these results that came out were in line with what they actually had, what they actually observed. So I know people are genuinely agree, but we just have to say the past is the past. Let's go and seek for redress. But moving forward, let's do a lot better.
Well, talking about doing better, while we think of how we do that, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. What do you say? Okay. I don't know. We'll have to it's almost time for the news, and we can just.
Yeah, bro. Okay, okay. That's totally fine.
Hello and welcome to Newstrack. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for joining us. The police have confirmed the killing of at least 7 people, while 8 others were injured after gunmen attacked Sabon Tara village in Giwa local government area of Kaduna State. The State Police Command Public Relations Officer, Yakubu Sabo, told Channels Television that the gunmen stormed the village in the early hours of Saturday in an attempt to kidnap one Alhaji Ina Sidi, a seasoned farmer. He says they started shooting sporadically, killing 5 of the residents. But the villagers mobilized themselves to repel the attackers and succeeded in killing one of the bandits, while the others escaped. 2 of the 8 injured victims later died at the hospital, while 4 others are still receiving treatment from gunshot wounds. According to the police spokesman, mobile policemen have been drafted to the community to maintain law and order, and normalcy has since returned to the area. The death toll from the recent attack on Karamai community in Kajuru, local government of Kaduna State, has increased from 29 to 40. Consequently, the state government says it will soon set up a judicial commission of inquiry to look into the remote and immediate causes of the incessant conflicts in the area, with a view to bringing the perpetrators to justice. About 200 gunmen invaded the village in the early hours of Thursday, while residents were sleeping, shooting and burning down over 40 houses before the arrival of security operatives. The gunmen also ambushed a police patrol team in the area, killing a policeman.
It is very sad that people that have lived together, side by side, for hundreds of years, have suddenly started killing each other. These cycles of violence, particularly in Kajuru and Kachia local government, must stop. It's not in our culture, it is not in our religions. Our 2 holy books, the Bible and the Quran, do not allow any human being to kill another. So those that are doing this are not people of God, they are godless people. They are neither Muslim nor Christians. They are godless people. And we must all join and unite to condemn them. And we must remember that these cycles of violence can never end as long as we believe in revenge and reprisal. We have leaders, we have community leaders, we have law enforcement officers that you should report anyone that has done anything wrong to you. Do not take the law into your own hands. Because if you do, everyone else can take the law into his own hands and the cycle will never end.
For the state governor, Abdulaziz Yari has condemned the killing of 13 people in Hawaye village of Ankara local government by armed bandits, describing the act as inhumane. The governor made the comment when he visited the scene to condole with the victims and assess the level of damage done by the gunmen. Governor Yari assured the residents of the government's efforts at securing the lives of the people. The gunmen had stormed the village on motorcycles at about 5:30 p.m. last Tuesday, engaging 12 policemen on duty in combat and overpowering them. Several houses, including shops, were sacked and burnt in the process.
We are no longer going to have a dialogue with them after doing damage, after killing our people, and asking us to do dialogue with who? Dialogue, not this time around. They want to sit back with the people here, and the security agencies here. The issue of dialogue is not in this present time. We must show that government is in place, and our security operators, they are up to them.
Elsewhere, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project has dragged the federal government and state governments to the ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja over what it describes as attacks on journalists. In a statement, the organization is accusing the government of frequent and repressive application of the Cybercrime Act. According to the statement, the Act unfairly targets anyone found publishing views or facts perceived to be critical of the government at the federal and state levels, as well as government officials. In the suit, SERAP insists that, quote, the federal government and several state governments and their agents have trampled on the rights to freedom of expression and information of bloggers, journalists, activists, and social media users through the repressive use and implementation of the vaguely worded provisions of the Cybercrime Act, end of quote. The suit filed on SERAP's behalf by its lawyer, Femi Falana, raised the fundamental question of whether or not the two tiers of government, by using and applying the Cybercrime Act and other similar laws, violates the right to freedom of expression and access to information. It also details reasons that point to a violation of international freedom of expression laws and makes demands for redress. No date has been fixed for the hearing of the suit. In politics, the main opposition political party, the People's Democratic Party, is resolved to challenge the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the February 23rd presidential election. According to the PDP, its flag bearer has inaugurated his legal team, headed by a senior advocate of Nigeria, in order to seek legal redress in the court of law. The party has described as absolute falsehood and lies the story making the rounds that it has made some demands of President Muhammadu Buhari after INEC announced the result of the election. The PDP maintains that it will reclaim its mandate legally and that the party remains committed to the huge sacrifice made by Nigerians in ensuring the collective victory at the polls. The party insists that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has not and will never make or accept any condition from President Buhari regarding what it describes as the rigged 2019 presidential election. Meanwhile, with just days of the governorship elections and state assembly elections scheduled for March the 9th, the People's Democratic Party is expressing concern about the conduct of the polls, while making reference to what it describes as irregularities during the presidential election of February the 23rd. The PDP's leaders across various states are asking the electoral umpire and security agencies to remain neutral and ensure a hitch-free exercise.
Political parties in Nigeria are gearing up for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections on March the 9th, with some of them calling on stakeholders to address the concerns raised from the presidential and national assembly elections. The main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party in different states, are voicing their worries and asking those concerned to tackle them ahead of the state polls in order to guarantee a hitch-free exercise. At a press conference in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the People's Democratic Party, or Luzone, has called on INEC and security agencies in the state to maintain neutrality and ensure they restore the confidence of the people.
We condemn in its entirety this brigandage visited upon our people and call on the INEC to do the needful and restore the confidence of our people in the electoral process before the next election on 9th March 2019. The security agencies should be neutral and allow the process to drive itself, or else our democracy will witness a setback.
In Yola, the Adamawa state capital, supporters of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the PDP presidential candidates at the just concluded presidential elections, are appealing to him not to succumb to pressure to concede, but to ensure that the mandate is restored.
Instead of the ruling party to make gains in our electoral system, they have rather introduced innovation in rigging tactics. The APC government failed woefully to follow in the hallowed footsteps of former President Goodluck Jonathan, who conducted a free, fair, and credible election. We are heading to court. We have a case and we have proofs everywhere to present. So the issue of congratulating him, we are not going to accept that, and that is an issue that is not going to be discussed at the moment.
In Lagos, the leadership of the PDP in the state has described the last election as an exercise of double standards, alleging disparity in the conduct of the polls in different regions.
Where it is compulsory that car reader be employed and deployed in the south, and it serves as absolute requisite for ballot casting. He was put in abeyance and totally not rejected in the North. Yet the election was meant to produce the President of the Federal Republic. This is double standard and totally unacceptable.
We have appealed to our people, no violence. We will go through the normal route of trying to get justice, fairness, and equity. That is what we are going to follow. Told our people, hold your guts.
As Nigerians head to the polls in the coming days to elect governors and legislators at the state level, security agencies, the electoral umpire, political parties, and electorates are being asked to show patriotism and do the right thing before, during, and after the March 9th elections in order to deepen democracy.
The governorship candidate of the Alliance for Democracy in Ogun State has denied stepping down in favor of the PDP, People's Democratic Party, governorship candidate. Mr. Oluseyi Olorokere says rumors making the rounds that he has adopted Mr. Buruji Kashimu, whose name appears on INEC's list as a PDP flag bearer, are the figment of the imagination of those who originated it. The AD candidate who was speaking in Abeokuta, the state capital, also warned against intimidation of opponents, vote buying, falsification of results, and violence allegedly perpetrated in the last presidential and National Assembly elections.
Desperate individuals in the political space are circulating fake news that the Alliance for Democracy has adopted the gubernatorial candidate of another party. As a progressive party comprising of the most credible set of candidates in Ogun State's political history, let it be known to the world that we will not sell the people's trust and mandate given to us to contest and represent them for a morsel of cheap bread. We therefore assure all our supporters and well-wishers across the length and breadth of Ogun State that there is and there will be no such thing as adoption of any candidate. It is a lie and fake news being peddled by mischievous elements in our polity. We call on the federal government, INEC, security agencies, observer groups, CSOs, and well-meaning political parties to ensure the upcoming election in Ogun State is free, fair, and credible.
The police command in Oyo State says it has arrested 38 people for alleged electoral malpractice. In an interview with Channels Television at the command headquarters in Ibadan, the police commissioner also confirmed that he had received 4 petitions from different political parties regarding the general elections. He says those arrested are being processed for further action, while investigations are ongoing into an alleged killing that took place in Ibadan Southeast local government area.
All security agencies are working together, and we have promised that no place will be left unturned, including those areas that were considered to be black spots. The provision of security this time around is going to be a little bit tighter. The last elections, some arrests were actually made. We had 38 arrests in all. Each case is being treated on its merit, and that means we are investigating.
Pedestrians who refuse to use bridges provided for them in the Federal Capital Territory may soon face sanctions, including fines, as the Federal Road Safety Corps says it will recommend stiff penalties for unsafe road crossing in Abuja. The Commission expressed concern over the attitude of some pedestrians who ignore the bridges provided for safe crossing of highways across the city. According to the Commission, such an attitude has increased the number of fatalities resulting from hit-and-run vehicles in recent times. You're watching Newstrack on Channels Television. Coming up, SpaceX Dragon capsule docks with a space station. That's on the foreign scene. We also have sports news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. ChannelsTV.com is more information for you. And on YouTube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app and tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. Before the break, we were telling you about pedestrians in the Federal Capital Territory who are refusing to use the footbridges provided by the government. Well, now the authorities are coming down hard on those who are doing that.
Throughout the world, pedestrian bridges are constructed at critical points to help people cross busy highways without having to risk their lives dodging speeding vehicles and reckless drivers. Such bridges, when used by pedestrians, help to save lives and reduce deaths. Abuja, Nigeria's capital, has over 15 pedestrian bridges at strategic points for this purpose. Although there is no reliable statistics on fatalities resulting from not using pedestrian bridges in Abuja, officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps highlight the dangers of not using these bridges on busy highways.
So many lives have been lost. So many people have already permanent injuries as a result of this, that they cannot walk again. And mostly it's around.
In spite of the risk, however, some pedestrians in Abuja would rather run across the busy highways than use the bridges provided.
There is choice for us to go down there and then use the pedestrian and then coming to this side. So that is why we prefer using this very place. Though we know it is very risky, but we prefer passing it here than going down there to use the pedestrian bridge.
The risk involved is just left to whoever is crossing road to just watch carefully and cross speed. Just cross with speed. And then maybe when you are crossing, you run fast. That is your own. That is how it is.
For others, however, running across the highway is not an option at all.
I've seen people dying on the roads while crossing the roads. They lost their life. So I prefer using the bridge for my own safety. No matter the distance, I have to walk down to the bridge to use it for my own safety. It doesn't cost anything for me to use it.
It's a welcome development that we
Officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps are worried about the attitude of these pedestrians who risk their lives crossing the highway.
Nigerians should imbibe that ethical thing that, look, where pedestrian bridges are provided, no matter how far it is to where you are, you must use the pedestrian bridge. It's going to get to that we're going to be in touch with the FCDA, the minister, to have something like KAI or give the powers to an existing agency and set up mobile court. And from there, then these people can be dealt with, and it's going to reduce it drastically.
This stretch of wire fence is one of government's effort to discourage pedestrians from running across the highway. However, many portions of these barricades have been vandalized severally. If the recommendation for a stiffer penalty is approved, there will be tough times ahead for pedestrians who refuse to use these bridges.
A total of 134 orphanages have benefited from the federal government distributing items to orphanages in Zone A, comprising Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Ekiti, Osun, and Ondo states in southwest Nigeria. According to the chairman subcommittee of the Presidential Initiative on the distribution of relief items to orphanages, Comptroller Yakubu Salihu, the orphanages house a total of 7,350 orphans. Mr. Salihu revealed this at a media briefing at the Ogun State headquarters of the Nigeria Customs Service in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. It says over 32,576 bags of rice and 1,794 kegs of vegetable oil, amongst other items, have been distributed amongst the 6 states.
As noble as the intention of the federal government is, we have discovered that some unpatriotic elements are cashing in on this exercise by going to orphanages, pretending to be working for the service, collecting documents supposedly for the committee. The obvious criminal intention to extort money or some of the items for what? Facilitating the allocation is not lost on us. Already 2 people impersonating the committee have been arrested and detained at Semeboda. The service has not permitted any person or group of persons, organization to contact orphanages, IDPs, or indeed any vulnerable group on behalf of the committee.
On the foreign scene, the husband of Shamima Begum, the British girl who joined the Islamic State terror group in Syria in 2015, says he wants her to return to the Netherlands with him. Dutch-born Yago Rajic and his Miss Begum married days after she arrived inside the territory at the age of 15. He admitted fighting for the group, but says he now wants to return home to the Netherlands with his wife and their newborn son. The 27-year-old Rajic, who has been held in a Kurdish detention center in northeastern Syria, faces a 6-year jail term for joining a terror group if he returns to his home country. He claims he rejected ISIS and had tried to leave the group. The demonstration of Flight of America's new astronaut capsule has launched and successfully docked with the International Space Station, ISS. The Dragon vehicle, launched by California's SpaceX company on Saturday, made the attachment autonomously. It's the latest in a series of tests the capsule must pass in order to get approval from NASA to transport people. This particular mission is carrying only a test dummy and 90 kilograms of supplies. The Dragon approached the 400-kilometer high station from the front and used its computers and sensors to guide itself in. U.S. astronaut Annie McClain and Canadian astronaut David St. Jacques watched closely on HD cameras aboard the ISS to make sure the capsule performs as it should. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Kamaru Usman has become the first African UFC champion after comprehensively defeating American Tyron Woodley at UFC 235. Usman claimed the welterweight title in a dominant decision, outscoring the three-time defending champion 50-44, 50-44, and 50-45. Woodley offered virtually nothing offensively and spent the majority of the fight either on his back or pressed up against the fence.
You know, you say it. I said that, you know what, I'm coming for that welterweight strap, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. You know, I'm a math guy. And that's the answer. This is the formula. Now we got to work out the problems in order to be able to get there. And, you know, tonight was my night.
In tennis, Nick Kyrgios saved his best performance of a brilliant week for last as the Australian stunned second seed Alexander Zverev 6-3, 6-4 to win his first Mexican Open title. Temperamental Aussie, whose scintillating run to the final included wins against Stan Wawrinka and Rafael Nadal, played free and focused from the outset and frustrated his German opponent with a steady diet of drop shots. Kyrgios, who has fallen to 72 in the rankings, previously converted 3 of his breakpoint opportunities and sealed the win on his first championship point with a massive serve. And in basketball, the Los Angeles Lakers bid to qualify for the NBA playoffs has suffered yet another setback after losing to the last place Phoenix Suns. DeAndre Ayton had 26 points and 10 rebounds as the Phoenix defied their league worst record to further dent the LA's hopes with a 118-109 victory on Saturday night. The Suns avoided their first season sweep in 19 years against the Lakers, who lost for the 4th time in their last 5 games to fall 4.5 games back from the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. LeBron James had 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 15 assists for the Lakers in the losing effort. That's it on News Track for this hour. Do join us again for the next. Thanks for watching. I'm Olumide Makolo.
Hello? Ava, Kundao? All right, sir. I'm here.
Mukhtar, can you hear me? Hello, Mukhtar, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, fantastic. Hello, Yahya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, great, fantastic. What do you think? Why do you think so? I don't have any traits. I mean, yeah, I'm ready. I don't have any political traits. No. Well, let's start this. All right, let's see. Let's see. I mean, all right, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists in the studio, as well as the Report Hangout and our Abuja studio. Let me begin from there. Mukhtar, thank you for staying with us. If you can hear me, again, we're looking at how technology was used during these elections, of which you have a platform that you created for that purpose. What was it like?
And on the platform, we created plugin which surveys issues. So on this survey, we have over 5,000 volunteers across states, 4 states of Nigeria.
Let's just go to Mukhtar. Let's just go straight to the stats. What was the situation like during the election?
Okay. We recorded 4,500 reports. We were able to submit 3,822. Most of these reports are 40 minutes issues. And I think most of the issues mostly supporting in basic acting local local and from local government and plastic states. And secondly, one of the positive issues is and positive issues that are from part of Bauchi, Adamawa, and Abuja. We have open 40 minutes open at our time. And we have some issues that 40 minutes in local government and we see ballot box without a ballot
Cover.
And without need, we recorded some issues that are supposed to be recorded. Who does that with it and that. So mostly we recorded issues of previously, first thing in the morning, which are reported in
ago, which later we passed different issues, and I think issue of Lagos and part of Cross River. So we recorded a whole lot of issues, like I said, 3,822 issues across the election. And you know, we as committed to the movement are not after the result, but we are after the process of the result. In the process,
So,
there are a whole lot of
so what do you think they should be doing? I mean, because there's another election coming, not in a very a short time. What do you think they should be doing based on what you've seen in the past election?
First of all, I need 4 years. I don't expect to see, we don't expect to see issues of anger, issues of hate, issues of filter, issues of not less coming of materials and other things. So I expect to see INEC change. I expect to see INEC officials, I expect to go on arms police, that's the next. Because it's going to be a grassroots election. So it's not easy to win. We have a whole lot of issues. So I expect to see a different INEC, not different INEC and the president.
Oh, very well. I mean, I would translate that as, you know, expect to see a better process during the next election. But let me come to Yahaya Yakubu, who, of course, is also joining us from Abuja. Yahaya, let's look at earlier on there was a banter about how the security operatives fared, and then that's corroborating with what he just said now. But moving forward, what do you expect to see? Because this, like you said, is going to be a grassroots election. There will be so much attention. There will be so much eyes. There will be so much interest being played around with. So, what would you expect to see?
Well, with respect to the number of police officers or other security agents at polling units, if memory serves me right, the civil society were amongst the people who championed for less security or absence of armed security personnel at polling units. So now that we've tried that out, and by the video that made rounds of a single policeman trying to control a number of dogs, which is embarrassing to say the least. So I would expect that we as Nigerians should, regardless of what security measures we will be taking, this election most affects the masses. If there is a conflict or there are crises in polling units, you don't have crisis in Victoria Garden City, you don't have crisis in Maitama, it's in the suburbs. So I would advise that we Nigerians, we should take it upon ourselves to see that we do not allow for us we do not allow ourselves to be used as elements that will disrupt this process, because aside those pocket areas, overall basis, if you look at the conduct of the election, the security personnel actually did less compared to any other previous elections, because people were in order, there was decorum, and the business was going as it's meant to be. So while I would also advise that there's a need for improved armed or more security personnel stationed at polling units, I'm also skeptical about the possibility of of using these same armed personnel to intimidate certain persons. So it's a two-way coin. So it lies on not just INEC, but also Nigerians at large and the security agents to try as much as possible to conduct themselves and not be partisan and not get involved with politics or favoritism whatsoever.
Indeed, I hope that comes to clear. But I have to say, thank you for being with us today on the program, political scientist Dr. Yahaya Yakubu. It's a pleasure again. Of course. So again, just in wrapping up, you know, he talked about how these violence were linked to particular places and not where. I mean, is poverty? Would you say you would link poverty to crisis?
No, I don't think we will say poverty is linked to crisis. I just think the authorities need better handling. I think we would like to see, like I said earlier on, where issues have been raised, where complaints have been made, the authorities, especially INEC, should try as much as possible to address it. There are issues. For example, the young man was talking about underage voting in the north. We had issues in Rivers State where the Nigerian army, I am even particularly surprised that the Nigerian army took so much space and ground in participating in what happened in Rivers State. The other force, the other part of the armed forces, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force, did not show so much interest. So I'm particularly shocked at what the Nigerian army is doing concerning elections in Nigeria.
Maybe they were supporting.
No, they are not, except there is a case of emergency where the president has to now call for the intervention of the Nigerian army. I think the Nigerian police force is capable of handling any crisis that arises from elections. Now, what do I like to see? I like to see where these complaints have been made in Lagos State, in Plateau, in Rivers State, in Delta states. Please let the authorities look at these complaints on the merits and address them so that this forthcoming election, we can have a better conduct and less complaint from especially parties that are not regarded as the big parties, that are the two big parties, like our party, the ANRC. Our people in Lagos, especially in Amo, Dolphin, Solo, complain of intimidation. And I heard somebody saying that the masses can secure a polling unit. No. So you cannot ascribe poverty to crisis. In my unit, in my ward, in Ifakojaye, largely most of the polling units, there were no violence. Even some of the big parties, the parties that won fairly and squarely, no complaints.
So it's a thing of interest, so to speak.
Yes.
So I mean, so just to wrap it up, of course, I mean, a lot has been said in terms of what needs to be done, in terms of security deployment, in terms of intimidation of voters here and there. But by and large, the process, would you say anything needs to be done in that regard?
Definitely, the process has to be improved. It's an opportunity that INEC has right now to actually show that it has the potential, it has the ability to actually deliver a seamless election process. So when it comes to issue of timing, equal materials for the elections, they have to do better and come on time, and also provide even the ad hoc staff who are going to be taking part in the elections. This is an opportunity for them to do great and show Nigerians and the world that they can deliver. This opportunity also is there for Lagosians, people, other states. In Lagos is where I have interest in, to actually come out and vote and show and exercise their civic responsibility and vote for the candidate of their choice. Because we saw, so to say, a low turnout of like close to 20% in Lagos State. Now, Lagosians have to stand up and rise up and say, you know what, we are going to vote for the candidate we want. Nothing is going to stop us. We're not going to be intimidated. It was relatively peaceful in most of the areas. There is nothing to fear, but success is going to be guaranteed. And you know who I'm voting for.
Well, you didn't have to drop that here.
Yeah.
But I have to say thank you, of course, for being on the program. And of course, we also had Mukhtar Halilu Modibo, who joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you as well, Mukhtar, for sharing your thoughts as regards how technology was deployed and those numbers. Hopefully, we don't see those numbers come up anytime during this coming election. But that's where we'll have to hold it for now. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Don't go away. All right.